Here's the question. All of you are the Bible says you're royalty. Men and women, you're royalty. And you've been given, Jesus gave you the authority to use his name. But what kind of king will you be? It's like when you're given a promotion, what kind of leader are you going to be? You have to ask yourself this, because these are different kings. You remember Joffrey? Remember, I don't know if that's Thrain or Thrain. You guys know that guy? Riddick, yep. Leonidas? Gladiator, yeah. I forget his name. Commodus. Now check this out. Video clip. Gotta show the video clip. There's a man ready for power. So who's our co-teachers? Come on up. Greg. You got it, go.
So one thing I liked about this chapter of the book, he starts off describing a warrior returning from battle victorious to inherit his kingdom and rule over it. And he goes on to describe how when you reach this stage, you have a kingdom of your own, whether from a CEO of a company down to just the king of your family and your family unit. And how you rule that is determined based on all the stages leading up to the king stage. The scripture that perfectly defines the king's stage is Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous thrive, the people rejoice.
It's good.
When the wicked rule, the people groan. A good king has to use all of his power.
Get out of here.
Uses all he has to make his
Send me your contact info. I want to talk.
the same as that
Later
of
doing this,
heaven.
but we have a test safe for him. Okay. All right, buddy.
And
What's the
the king
email?
is wounded, can be wounded anywhere from the boyhood stage all the way up to the king stage. If they're thrust into it too early and they're not ready
Yeah.
for it,
Oof.
if the territory that they're given as a king is too large or too small for them, they'll squander it, or it will be too much for them to handle.
It's really good.
And he went on to describe kings from the Bible, and what united them all was they always turned to God to make all their decisions.
Yeah.
So, for Moses, every chapter, or chapters 6 through 14 of Exodus always start with, "Then the Lord said to Moses." He's always following God's path. And then David, 2 Samuel 2:1. And it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord, saying, "Shall I go into any cities in Judah?" And the Lord said unto him, "Go up." And David said, "Whither shall I go up?" And he said, "Unto Hebron." So he's directly asking God, "What do you want me to do?" And then he goes and does it. And then the last one I have for that is Jesus in John 12:49 through 50. "For I did not speak of my own accord, but the Father who sent me commanded me what to say and how to say it. I know that his command leads to eternal life. So whatever I say is just what the Father has told me to say." So a good king always, the way he described him was, a good king will always yield to God and do what is in his plan for his kingdom.
It's really good.
Yeah, that's super awesome. Rundown of the whole thing. Real quick, I guess you someone to turn to Matthew chapter 20, just go to verse 25. Maybe one more to go to let's see, 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 24. And then you're going to get there. Matthew, and then you got 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 23. Chapter 23, verse 24. Okay. Right. Matthew, verse 25 to me, please.
35 to 40.
Yeah.
So Jesus called them to himself and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great men exercise authority over them. 26. It is not this way among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you shall be your servant. 27. Whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. 28. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, to give his life as ransom for many.
Yeah.
That is the perfect example of kingship. According to the Bible, Jesus Christ is our King.
It's good.
He's God incarnate, and that's the example He set for us. So what does that mean for the king stage for all of us? As you guys all figured out and have heard throughout these stages, that all these stages kind of mesh together. There's not like hard lines, right? So we have a little kingdom right now. For the young Marine right now, it might be very small. It might be your room. It might even just be how you treat your body, honestly. For the NCOs out there, it might be your recruits, the officers, it could be your squad or platoon or battalion. But you have to recognize what it is. And, one of the things that you can judge someone's kingship by their subjects. So, Jesus puts out an example of service. He talks about the Gentile kings of their time, and pictures that we showed earlier, perfect example. You can read about Caligula, you can read about Nero, you can read about monarchs and rulers of the past that have abused their population and have used their own vanity, basically, in fear to use their authority. But that's not actually where you get your authority. It's not your own power. You get your authority from God. And that's why He did a great job of kind of explaining how we're supposed to use that. So we're supposed to turn to God to actually get our direction. Who here is an NCO? Okay, nice. Where do you get your authority from when you actually give an order as an NCO? Where does that authority actually come from?
Your warrant.
Yeah, chief. Your commanding officer, right? That's how your orders come down. It's the same thing with the Lord for us. When you run a kingdom, like you're supposed to get your orders from God. You're kind of working as His proxy on earth. Like we have like a kingdom. We've been trusted with the earth. We were meant to rule over it, and Jesus Christ came to restore that. Just a few examples. Another example, I brought up Moses earlier. Perfect. Numbers 12:3 talks about how Moses was the meekest of man on the whole earth. This is after his brother and sister were challenging his authority. God was speaking exclusively to Moses, and He was directing all the people of Israel. And when they challenge him, God rebukes Miriam and Aaron and tells them that, like, I speak directly to him. And then later in the Beatitudes, Jesus says, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth."
Yeah.
And I'll close up with, who's got 2 Kings? Yes, thank you.
In addition, Josiah eradicated all the mediums, spurious, household idols, images, and foreign things that were seen in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem. He did this in order to carry out the words of the law that were written in the book of the priest Micaiah found in the Lord's temple.
Perfect. This is a verse that the book gives us. It talks about Josiah. Short bit on 2 Kings there, but it talks about how he took this action and he went back to God's law and started actually enacting God's law.
Yeah.
So part of being a good king is actually taking action, right? So
Yeah.
how do we orient our action? It's through service. It's through, the last will become the first. Jesus says. And it's also through our actual action and taking direction from God and acting it out. That's pretty much a good conclusion for.
Wow. This is really good, guys. You guys nailed it. You guys nailed it, man. It's bottom line stuff. So, one of the things, yeah. The charger? Yeah. I should have given you that. Good man. Thanks. Did it cut off? Okay. What is that? Those are my ribbons and these are my awards, my salad. What do you see? Somebody said it, history, accomplishments. It's a record. It's a record. And so basically, you Marines, you guys know this is what we do when somebody's in chucks. You guys still call them Charlies? Yeah. don't know what you guys do anymore. But you see somebody, you see we all look at it. We all check them out. Because we want to see what this guy's been through, right? It's just a record. Now, there's a reason for this, because one of the things here, I'm going to fly through this. The king walks in great authority. He understands his authority. The king carries a lot of scars. I talked about scars a few minutes ago. You have a lot of scars. But the difference in your scars, because I told you, you see some of these scars, it reminds you of pain, but has it been healed? Like all of your emotional scars, have they been healed? Because if they've been healed, now you can tell somebody not just about the pain, not just about the drama, not just about the mess, but you could tell them about the Messiah, Christ. Let me tell you what Christ did. Right? And so this is when it only comes through time. And when you walk in this kind of kingship, you've been through some things. You need to understand that this is what a king does. He brings order to the realm. You as men, even if you're a lance corporal, you can bring order to your section, to your squad. You can bring order, or you can bring chaos. It's up to you. And so practice order now, because when you become a corporal, you're going to and a sergeant, you're going to have to do your job well. And then when you become a husband and become a daddy, you've got to reign and rule well. But now's the time to practice for that. Foremost, a servant. One of the things, I didn't touch on this, but it applies to this too, in the lover stage. In Ephesians, it says, wives, submit yourself to your husbands as unto the Lord. And then it goes on and says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. I promise you, the men have a greater charge. Women, wives, respect your husbands. Submit to your husbands as unto the Lord. Basically, women, if you study the Lord, you'll understand how to submit to your husband. Men, if you study the Lord, you'll understand what it means to lay your life down. Because Jesus laid his life down for the church. If you study that and understand that, you'll know how to lay your life down for your family, your wife, for your country. This is what this is about. The king knows how to lay down his life. And this is what we do. We lay down our lives for our families. They're our priority. Your platoon becomes your priority. Right? You become servant oriented. Matter of fact, one of the things you'll see here shortly in a minute, because we're gonna do a send off service for all 3-6. 3-6, raise your hand. Let me get a quick count. Okay, we're gonna have to do 10 at a time, but we're gonna get it done. And you'll see what I'm talking about. What service is, how Jesus served his disciples, how he served them. Well, this is what the king does, and you have to ask yourself, what is a life like for people under your rule? You know, are you a bad NCO? Man, we had a major, I'm telling you, everyone wanted to shoot him. He was just he was miserable. He was unhappy, and he made everybody else unhappy. He was toxic. What about you? Are you a problem child? Or are you solution oriented? Focus of your reign is to making life comfortable for you or for others. Edwin Lewis Cole wrote this in his book, Maximize Manhood. He says, love gives, lust gets. Love gives at the expense of self. Lust gets at the expense of others. And so men, we don't have a problem taking. We know how to take. We take all the time. But we have to unlearn that to some degree and learn how to give and how to talk and communicate. Here's the cost of becoming a king. Augustine wept when he was made Bishop of Hippo in North Africa. Those of you who have been kings will understand there's a cost to the king that the king is going to pay, unknown and unmatched by any other man. I've learned this over the years. I think unless there is a profound reluctance to take the throne, a man does not understand the cost of what is being asked of him. You will be tested on every conceivable front. I could talk about this, and now it's just I do what I have to do for others instead of trying to. There was a time years ago, probably 20, 25 years ago, when I wanted to be ordained, and I wanted to be licensed for the wrong reasons. And then I was chasing after validation or ordinations and licenses. I was chasing after them. And then I just gave up. I said, you know what, this is not what I really want to do. And I quit. And I just started being a Christian. And then the ordinations followed me. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference in me searching for them, trying to get them. Why? Didn't really need them. I just did God stuff, and then all the validation came. I had a heart change. You don't want to be king. Trust me, it's not something to be coveted. Only the ignorant covet a throne. I got to say this, because there are some of you in here who said, if I was a sergeant, I'd do things different. If I was a first sergeant, I'd do things different. If I was a pastor, I'd do things different. You got no room to talk. You're speaking out of your immaturity and stupidity. You have no idea. And this is what he's talking about right here. Only the ignorant covet a throne. Augustine, I had a sergeant. I had a sergeant, really sharp sergeant years ago, tell me that he could be a better husband to my wife and a better father to my kids. I had never heard that before. I just looked at you. You're an idiot. You're a complete idiot. Something's wrong with you. But he literally thought, and never been married, no kids or anything like that, but he coveted something that wasn't his. And he was a sharp sergeant, but he revealed himself that day. He's dangerous. Yeah. So, only the ignorant covet a throne. Augustine didn't want the job because he knew what it would cost him, and he felt a profound inadequacy to the task. He wanted a quiet, simple life, but he accepted the role on behalf of others. That's why I come here. I promise you, this is why I come here. I come here for you all. I'm even thinking about how can I skin this cat and try to get all 4 lessons in tonight, and I kind of knew it wasn't going to happen. But I want to get it to you. And it breaks my heart that some of you weren't here for the sex series. And you missed out, but I understand it's where you're at, and you just missed out. And be like Garrett. He was here a year ago or something like that, and he came this year wanting more, and he learned from last year, like, this time I'm not going to waste so much time, right? So likewise, you do the same thing. This is just a quick snapshot of my resume. And so if I've got actually it's more than that, it's probably 5,000 sermons that I preach. Anybody got 5,000 sermons under their belt? I'm talking about, I used to preach 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 times a week. Routinely for 20 years, 4 times a week. But 4 times a week I would preach. And I added up the hours because you guys know I go long sometimes. It ain't 30-minute sermons. It's usually 60, sometimes 90-minute sermons, right? But it's bottom line stuff that you need. There's no fluff. It's just bottom line. And so that at a minimum, that's over 5,000 hours of sermon time. How much sermon time do you have? See, something to think about. And there are some of you in here, I could really call you out. Because I already know, and I've been criticized for some things. But, humility, I know how stupid you are, so I'm not going to say nothing. No, I mean that. I say it jokingly, but I also mean it. I understand and I have compassion for you. I do. And some of I have a lot of critics, but whatever, it is what it is. But I just keep on going. I'm going, I'm being led by the Spirit of God. So anytime I preach a sermon, it's a minimum times 3, whatever the hours was, just study time. At minimum times 3, usually it's like times 6. Same thing with my prayer time is times 3 of that. Just preparation. Anybody got that much prayer time? I've been a husband 36 years, over 36. That's 315,000 hours. Anybody got that? How much decision and drama and trials is in that? What about, I was a father. I've been a father for a quarter, 254,000 hours. I was a Marine for 22 years. That's 193,000 hours. That's a lot of time. Now you put that in it's real simple. Put this in like a pilot. A pilot with 6 hours versus a pilot with 6,000 hours of flight time. Which one do you trust? 6,000. Yeah, and so 6,000 hours. Right? I'm not bragging. I'm just letting you know there's a difference between me and you. Right? And I'm not elevating myself. If anything, I have to say this, is that the hierarchy in the church doesn't go like this. The pastor's at top, and he's at the top like this. The king, you as a husband, you think you're at the top, and you lead. That's not how it works. You as a leader, it's like this. You go to the bottom, and you serve people. That's what a king does. You humble yourself and you serve. There's more to it. Anybody need a picture of that? Because we're yeah, Sandy, can you go ahead and get the 10? You guys need pictures of that? She's gonna need some help. And some of you permanent personnel, I need your help too. Okay. Let's do this. We're gonna do some throwbacks here.